Hello, everybody. This is Peter Palmiani of Creator Own Comics Group on Facebook, and this is the YouTube channel, which you know because you're here. Um, so, before we get into today's Creator Spotlight, um, let's. Oh, and then goes my video, which. Shush. Okay. Um, yeah, so I want to mention a couple of things up front. We had one of the members messaged me a couple of times recently, and anybody following what we do in the Facebook group knows we did a poll to see who people were interested in doing these creator interviews with. And what was the other thing? I set up a chat group for anybody who wants to promote their Kickstarter, their Indiegogo, their Patreon page. I figured out, maybe experimentally, we'll do a chat group. You could talk about a little bit about your project and promote it there, and everybody who joins the chat group can go and see all the posts there. So far, we only had one person that posted, but we had a couple of people join the chat group, and we'll see how that goes. But it's less intrusive than 1,000 posts on the group page. Hey, go see my Kickstarter. We're trying different things, and it's less active, but I want it more interactive. So me and the other administrators are just, slowly coming up with ideas, and we'll see how it all goes. Or, if it all fails, then we'll go back to the standard format and let everybody spam the group, I guess. But so yeah, he posted about not being able to take the poll himself. Like he wanted to, um, do it, and he sent me a picture, and there was no option to choose. And then he showed me a picture of trying to join the chat group and not being able to join the chat group because the button was off. And everything is completely open, so I'm not sure why he specifically couldn't do those things. um, The only thing that crossed my mind was maybe, like, I asked what he was using, and he's using a PC. The only thing that crossed my mind was maybe he's got ad block on Facebook, and he hit something where he can't do such things. I'm not sure, but I'll message him again and see if that's the case. If anybody across the board has any problems with doing anything within the group, I know right now nobody else can post but me and the other administrators. But you can like everything, and you can comment on most posts that are there. There's certain posts recently where I turned off commenting, but for specific reasons. But yeah, so if you ever have any problems, message me or the other administrators within the group, and we get back to you pretty fast. So that's all that jazz. I'm working on my comics, and I just wanted to mention here briefly, Retro will probably be delayed for a month, so it'll probably be printed and published in September. But I have a lot of things going on. I'm still getting organized, but all is going well. But this isn't about me. This is about Marshall Lee.
Who, me?
Who are you? Welcome, welcome.
How you doing, man?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing awesome. Just tweeting out the link right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's San Diego Comic Con weekend. If you're watching this at any time later, and I'm sure most of the people are checking that out or there or whatever. And it's also early in the morning. I know you always do your early morning artcast. Um, but a lot of people tend to sleep late on the weekends.
Yeah.
um,
Well, I mean, it's San Diego Comic Con, but this is where the real action is. So
that,
all those
that's
people who
right.
come over here and check this out. No, actually, they're probably all sleeping because I mean, it's early here on the East Coast and they're on the West Coast. So
It's even earlier. Yeah, definitely, definitely. So let's see. Right now, you got your hands in a lot of different pies with a lot of different projects, and I figured take this opportunity up front to maybe talk a little bit about those and promote those off the top, if you want.
yeah, yeah. I'm getting into a lot of trouble right now, man, with all this these projects. I'm taking off more than I can chew a little bit, but I think I'm managing it. I think I've gotten to a point where I've got things like sort of under control. Um, right now, the biggest thing I'm working on is the Legends of the Lone Wolf anthology project, which I have a now 13-page story that was written by Doug Garrett, the creator of Lone Wolf, and he wanted to do an anthology with his character where a bunch of other creators try their hand at creating a story for Legends of the Lone Wolf. Myself and one other person has one written by him, but other people have like full different creative teams and stuff. But that's been a blast. I've been having like a ton of fun with that. It's taking longer than I thought, but it's been fun. I've been enjoying the process, so it doesn't bother me. Um, but yeah, I got that going. I have a lot of projects. I'm getting ready to launch a Kickstarter in September for an anthology of my own, which is going to include a bunch of my early stories, kind of a jumping off point to the series. It's called what is it called now? It's called Retro Fresh Comic Explosion. So it's gonna be a bunch of my stories that I've done from the past till now. It's kind of gonna be like I said, like a jumping off point um, from to kind of get the beginnings of where I started, and then the next issue will be like all new stories, and it's gonna be fun to be able to kind of mix it all up and have like almost like a Shonen Jump type of vibe, but kind of in my own, Americanized way, I guess, or whatever. I even want to put like some kind of thing where people like vote on the stories so I can see which ones they like better and stuff. I haven't figured out how to do that yet, but we'll figure it out. And then I'm doing a romance anthology. I'm doing a project. Writing a few different projects. One with Mike Emirates called Calamity Jane. There's a bunch of little other projects going on too, but then also myself and Mr. Peter Palmiotti here
Hey.
are doing a project called Big Wrath, which I'm really excited about. I've been doing a lot of writing for that this week, actually.
Yeah.
And it's an idea that Peter came up with, and yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited about it, and I was just thinking about this yesterday. This is I'm pretty sure that this is the first time I've ever been paid for making comics. So Peter is awesome to be the first person to pay me. It's more of a collaboration, but at the same time, you were nice enough to offer that and kind of incentivize that. As I've said to you before, I would have done it whether you paid me or not, but I appreciate that. And hey, you get to be the first. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like the whole idea behind everything I want to do is to get creators working on books. I know I've only made progress with my skills because I was paid and didn't have to worry about overhead. It's like you have a job and you do your job and you make a salary and you can make more comics and it's
yeah, I
my
mean,
my
it
intention.
definitely helps. I mean,
Yeah,
I literally it helped me pay rent last month, so
there
it
you
works
go.
out.
Cool, cool. Well, yeah, I mean, it may have been my initial spark, but you have turned it into a full blown universe, and there's really shaped out the characters, and where it goes is like it's totally up in the air. But yeah, we're gonna focus on the first issue and really dive in deep, and I am really excited about that too. So yeah, it's really coming together. Um, so yeah, I mean, how do you? I know how I do things, and I'm trying to improve. How do you keep the different things organized? Is it just all in your head, and you just sort of going from one to the other, or how do you
Well,
all put that together?
I mean, it's interesting. It's an adventure. It is. I feel like it is organized more than ever before. I used to not feel very organized at all, because I wasn't sure what I was focusing on. I was trying to do music. I was trying to make designer toys. I was trying to do graffiti stickers. I was trying to do like a million different projects, and try to have like an illustration career and comics. Now I'm pretty much just focused on comics. Even when I try to do something, it's like, no, I'm just going to work on comics, so that's a big plus. I mean, that's not something that everybody has a hard time with, because a lot of us just do like to just do comics. But for me, that was a big step. But now, I mean, honestly, when I found out about Trello, and I don't remember who first told me about Trello. I know I heard some stuff from Scott, but Scott Strickland, but I forget how I first found out. But anyways, at some point, I found out about Trello, and I looked at it, and I was like trying to figure it out, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I see how all this stuff is organized, and I'm like, when and if my brain was ever organized, it would probably look like this. Like, this is what it makes me think of. There's all these like little compartments, and things are in their little spots, but you can move them around and stuff. So I really like Trello for that. And I mean, I just use Trello all the time. And especially for writing projects, it's great. Like, I literally separate each little step, each page, with a different board and whatnot. And I don't know, it's really fun. So Trello is a good way to do it. As far as managing all those projects, I mean, it's cool because most of the projects I've worked on, up until now, have been just me by myself doing my own thing. But something really cool has happened with our community of creators. The 100 Days of Making Comics, started by Kevin Cross, is kind of the basis of a lot of us, even though not everybody is necessarily involved in that. But, you know, that group of creators has finally started to say, hey, wait, this person's really good at that. This person's really good at that. Why don't we like try to combine forces, with some of these projects? So now I feel like I can keep it a little more organized, because I have, right now I forgot to mention Glyph. That's like a big, big project,
Yeah.
that's like my main number one kind of one I want to get to, even though I really like all the other projects. I've been thinking about that one for longer, like probably 20 years in some way, shape, or form. So anyways, so I have, Fue Storm out there. He's writing Glyph, for me, and then I'm gonna do the art. So I'm kind of don't have to do anything with that at the moment. Then I got, this project I'm doing some writing on, but somebody else is doing the penciling. I got this project where I'm going to be doing the penciling, and you're going to be doing the inking with Big Wrath. There's all these different
Right.
things. So I just have to do like my part, and just kind of keep up with what my part is, and then hand it off to people. So as I do that, it's not so big of a thing for me to juggle. I just have to focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah, yeah. Um, back in the '90s for me, like when I was working from home in DC, it was kind of easy to keep track of everything because I was only working on one thing at a time. But I knew I wanted to get to this point where I'm working on multiple things, and like I said, I want to get more organized about it. Spreadsheets is a big thing. I want to get into spreadsheets and just like sort of map things out better, and keep like, okay, everybody who bought retro is here. Everybody who's interested in this project is here in this list, and so on and so forth. Because it's not only about making the project, but you want to sell it and pitch it to the right audience and promote it in certain places. And I want to sort of keep track of that. Like one day when I'm making enough money, and I can get an assistant, I could throw the stuff at them and say, here, this is all the information you need on this project, and you can do your work over there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like everything is like kind of time delayed a little bit, so it's weird how it kind of works out.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's being an independent comic book maker and creator, and being involved with other people on projects. I mean, it's kind of like you don't necessarily, except for Lone Wolf, you don't necessarily have a specific deadline for most of what you're working on. It's like open ended, so to where you can work on a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and as things move forward, then they sort of develop specific windows where they'll be done, and then go on to the next part of the process. That's kind of what I'm doing myself. Although it's like I see next year and things I want to publish next year, so I want to make sure I'm making enough project on certain things to move forward. So for anybody that doesn't know you, and you're Marsh Makes Comics on YouTube. I know a lot of our friends will come and watch this interview, but those that happen upon it and don't know you, and you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter, you're on Instagram. You got your own website. Donkey Joe Projects is your studio, and it's donkeyjoeprojects.com. You also have a Facebook page for that, so everybody can find your work and your art and your videos. And you're just growing day by day on YouTube. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's just nice. It's kind of cool because I wake up a lot of days because I basically have this one video that's really like taking off for me, on how to start your comic project, and I go into like mini, like how you can kind of do it easier with mini comics. It's just an easy way to kind of try things out before you're ready to take on the big project, and it's really helping a lot of people. And it's like I wake up every day and there's like a few more comments under that video, people saying, oh my gosh, this helped me make my first comic, or I'm totally going to do this. Like, it's really cool to see that it's actually helping people. So yeah, it's fun, and yeah, the subscriptions and stuff are growing, and I'm learning that kind of seeing something like that take off. It helps you to focus even more. It helps you to know, okay, so those are the kind of videos I need to make if I want to keep getting more traction with YouTube. And the whole YouTube thing is just fun. Like, I mean, if it wasn't fun, I wouldn't have done like 750 videos already, which is crazy. Every time I look at these numbers, I'm like, I can't believe I did that many videos. And so it's just fun when it comes down to it. But it's also, I mean, it is something to help get the word out about what I'm doing, and I'm still like really small potatoes on YouTube. But the fact that finally I'm starting to see some growth, I'm like, I want to double down on it, and I want to push it as much as possible, because all these things we put out there, whether they're books or YouTube videos or whatever, the better we can make them, and the more impactful we can make them, they're going to be working for us. So the more I can get some of those things out, then things will get a little bit easier. Things will start to build. And, I know that, Peter, because you're doing basically the same thing. So
Yeah. We're running along the same lines in many ways, and I was so happy to hear that you were going to do a Kickstarter for your book there, because it's really the next stage of where you're going. And I think that will make a huge impact in going forward for you. So I have a feeling it's going to do really well. You know, that's
Yeah, I hope so. I'm a little bit nervous just because it's like a one man anthology book. It's kind of a really it's like a weird title. It's got some of my older work in it, so it's like it's not the most amazing in some parts, but I am gonna have some new stuff in there too. But at the same time, there is like an angle there where I feel like, it's like you're getting in on the ground of like what's gonna be what I'm doing, and I don't know. I think it's a really cool thing, and the more I think about it, I'm like, I can't wait to do more of these. Like all these little tiny stories are going to be things that are first like YouTube videos. So then they'll be that, and then they'll be like all these little experiments. I'll keep putting them in the thing, and then I get to see what people like, and then I can kind of work with that. And I don't know, it's really fun. I love the idea of like anthologies, especially like Shonen Jump, how they vote for what's the best thing, and then that thing gets to be one of the top stories. And I don't know, there's a lot of fun in that, and like audience participation, and that's what I'm all about, is like the community and stuff. So yeah, I'm excited.
yeah, it's definitely interesting. Like the more friends we make in the industry, the more sort of community we see out there, and it's growing like every day almost. Uh, Independent comics and crowdfunding and what this whole industry is taking a turn, and it's really benefiting us, just our solo independent creators and making books and putting books out there. It's pretty wild. And it's like in many ways I thought of what the possibilities were like 20, 30, even before like computers became a mainstream thing. um, but it's taken a little while, but we're here now, and it's really up to us to take advantage of all of it. And I see every month that goes by, I see so many creators doing Indiegogos and Kickstarters and making tens of thousands of dollars, 50,000, 100,000, like crazy, crazy money. Um, and I look at it from perspective of like a fan and just somebody who enjoys buying comics, and I don't look at it as like, the word greedy comes up a lot, and it's really like it takes a lot for us to um, put together books. It's not something you could do in a weekend. um, and I think it's like people have to understand. It's like you know, it's even more beyond the work that goes into the book itself. It's just the business side of it, and then life. A lot goes into it, and it's like I don't think any project ever gets overfunded, because it's our blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it. Um, and in the end, you're supporting not only the work itself, but you're supporting the creators so that they can do more and more and more. Um, so like, anything that's funded like 500,000 or whatever, it's an insane number. It's like, well, that's for the next couple of years of projects that they got lined up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think crowdfunding, direct to market sales, like that's where we're at right now, and it's a great opportunity. I mean, we're in a place in time where it's never been better, and it may never be this good again, for creative people. And if we're not taking advantage of every little thing we can do right now, then I don't know. We really need to realize where we're at right now. And I mean, as far as crowdfunding, I mean, we've seen some amazing Kickstarters go off. There's one going off right now with Doug TenNapel and stuff. And you know, there's so many. I think even that, like, we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. I think there's a lot more to go with this, because a lot of times we're reaching out to specific audiences that are into comics or into indie comics or like to support artists. When we start to learn how to actually market to everybody, like, I mean, I don't think you should market your comic to everybody. You should have a specific focus, but we need to get outside of the world of like comics, because there is a lot of people out there who absolutely love comics and they just don't know it yet. It's an
No,
awesome
absolutely.
form of storytelling, and people need to realize that, you know?
Yeah, you know, not too long ago, like before computers, um, it's like everybody probably wrote, but now because of computers, I consider everybody a writer to some degree. You know, it's an amazing world that has changed so much, and like, you know, I consider myself a writer because I make Facebook posts every day. You know, it's like I'm constantly thinking and just writing a lot. You know, even just responses to comments and everything. It's like that to me is like in my head. I don't think I'm you know everything is gold, but um, it's all practice to when I'm working on stories. It's all like, you know, just like warm up sketches is practice to me working on comic pages. Um, I'm constantly thinking, you know, how can I do this better? How can, you know, what am I missing? What is everybody else doing, and how are they doing it better?
Mm, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I like that idea of like we've all kind of become writers. We've all become content creators to a certain degree. I mean, when it comes to creating something, you know, a content, you know, it can be video, it can be audio, it can be writing, and all of those things, you know, some people think that blogs are dead or something. They're not dead. Blogs are great. I aspire to do a blog because it's actually really, it gets a lot of traction on Google and stuff like that. You know, but I just don't have time to do everything is the thing. I mean, I have a blog, but I don't spend time on it. You know, podcasts are blowing up. You know, people think that might have gone away. No, it didn't go away. There, it's blowing up, especially in some other countries and stuff. And the thing is, like you said, that is the only thing that's actually hard to get through is, you know, everybody can do this and everybody is doing this. So you have to be good and you have to be authentic. You can't be out there trying to get something from people all the time. You have to be giving as much as you possibly can without expecting in return. Those are some of the keys, you know, and you just got to do it and you got to work hard at it. You can't just like think that, you know, you're going to make an impact and only put out like a post every couple weeks or something like that. You got to be out there. You got to be in people's faces a lot. I know a lot of people don't like to be really pushy, but I don't know. I'm getting more and more. The thing is it's not so much being pushy. It's creating a lot of just little interesting things that people will like. You have to, like I said, when I create a piece of content, I'm not thinking about like what's gonna, well, if I'm honest, I am thinking about like, will this get people to be interested? Sure, there's some of that, but a lot of times I'm thinking about like, how can I give value to people? Like, how can I do something that will cause people to like do their comic better, or inspire them to know that, you know, comics, there is something to this comics thing. Comics are awesome, or I can make my own comic, and it's not necessarily like, it's not what, you know, your mom and dad say or whoever, you know, it's not all those naysayers what they say like, oh, there's no money in comics and stuff. No, there is plenty of opportunity in comics. We just, we're basically we're in this market that is not being served well enough and is not being expanded. And that's really the problem, but there's no reason why we can't, you know, break through some of those barriers, you know. We have all the
Yeah,
opportunity in the world right now to do that.
yeah. It's funny. Way back when I was in my 20s, I had this girlfriend, um, and we'd go out to gatherings or parties or whatever, and she always had like a couple of business cards, and she'd give them out and talk to a few people about what she did, and if they knew anybody or they needed her services, yada yada. And back then I was like, I wasn't turned off, but I was like, well, this is the party. What are you doing? But it's kind of like my mindset has completely evolved to where I totally get that now. It's like, we're always pitching. I do art, I write stories, it's like this is all the things I do. Not because we want to push it in everybody's faces, but it's like because for me it comes from a place of love. I love this, and if I could do it better by talking to more people, like even people outside of comics, like what do you think of what I do? It's like how do you see that? Are is there zero interest, or it's like what would interest you? Um, it's good to explore, like you said, like we have to reach out beyond the comic community to sell our comics. That's my little way of doing it.
Yeah.
uh,
And I mean, as far as like the whole like giving to people and stuff, I mean, I mean, if there's anybody who's an example of that, that would be you, Peter. Like, you're always like trying to help people out. I mean, this video right here is all about, trying to throw a spotlight on other creators, which is so awesome. And, I mean, that's really what it's all about. And also just entertaining people. I mean, share the like, you got excited about whatever project you want to make. Like, first of all, make it, put it out there, because that's half the battle right there. And then second of all, share the same excitement that you had for the project when you first thought of it. Tell people why this thing is so awesome and you have to read this. Like, I can't wait to have some things where I can do that with, because right now, I mean, I do, I already do that a little bit, but I feel like I haven't gotten to that point where I have like a straight like store, like one book I can share. It's all these like little anthologies and stuff like that. But that's what I plan to do. And even with this retro fresh comic explosion thing, that's going to be me trying it for the first time, because I've put a lot of things out with I've been involved in other Kickstarters where I've had work within them. The 100 Days Making Comics anthologies, kind of the biggest example, but there's been other things. And I've had all these kind of little things, but this is and I did do a Kickstarter actually early on when Kickstarter first started. I think it was even within the first year it was started, but that was for music. So it was like, I'm not on that path anymore. So I'm really excited I feel like this is my first Kickstarter, so I'm really excited about that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I have the first D100 Anthology book, and I have a lot of your mini comics. And personally, I think it would be great to just put it in one volume. It's like this is all the work you've achieved thus far. This is Marshall Lee from X date to X date, to now, and
Yeah.
then when you get to the next book, um, it will be like you said, well, a lot of new work and other stuff. So I think that's very cool. It's sort of like a photo album. It's like, oh yeah, I remember when I worked
Yeah,
on that.
it is fun. It's gonna be a little bit like, that's basically what I'm doing with the Retro Fresh Comic Explosion. But it's not gonna be like kind of a linear thing. It's gonna, like, for instance, in this one, it's gonna show the first comic I ever made, but it's gonna show, I think I'm gonna have only half of it in there, and then in the second book there'll be like the second half or whatever. And the same thing with a few other titles. But yeah, that's basically what it's going to be. It's like, look at, this is where I came from, and then hopefully there'll be like Retro Fresh Comic Explosion issue 132, and it'll be like, wow, look where he came from in issue one to this, you know.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be really cool. So we can dive into the past a little bit. Like, you come from art, but you also, like you just mentioned, music was a big influence, and you did a lot of music online. You want to talk on that a little bit?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, basically, I mean, I could go back to the way beginning, and I'll keep it brief, but like, I knew that I wanted to be an artist when I was like literally in like nursery school. Like there was everybody did art projects and stuff. That's like you get your finger paint out and you do your thing, um, and we all had our own folders and stuff. And you know, I remember kids playing outside, and me asking the people if they could take my folder down. I just wanted to do art. So even then, there was an indication like I was gonna be a creative person. So and then somewhere around high school, I was getting into hip hop music, and I was also getting into comics more. Like I've always had kind of comics there, but that was when I was really like getting into it. Right before Image kind of happened. And I was into X Force. I got X Force #1, and I was blown away by what Rob was doing with X Force #1. It just, to me, he brought creativity that I had never seen because I wasn't deep into comics at that point. He brought like creativity with like creating new characters, and it was just excitement on the page to me. And I really enjoyed it. And that comic literally is kind of the starting point for me. I literally said to myself, I'm like, I know what I want to do for a living. This is what I want to do. I want to make comics. So I did that and stuff, but then I got distracted by music. Hip hop was just a huge thing for me back in the 90s, and I was doing the rapping thing and making beats and stuff. And I was just really more focused on that than anything else for a long time. And I did stuff with different groups and my own album and stuff like that. And that was all fun and everything, but I didn't really get a ton of traction with it. And it seemed like when I was doing my art, I would get more response from that generally. And it's not because I wasn't good at that. I think I am actually pretty good at that. I enjoy it. And but it just, for whatever reason, didn't want to stick or whatever. And it's fine. Like, I don't mind. I'm glad I have those skills and stuff. And I am looking forward to kind of doing that more and maybe incorporating it somehow into what I do with comics, but comics is the main focus. Um, and now, I think really the thing that got me back on the track of comics was the Art and Story podcast. There was a bunch of podcasts back then. I think the first one I might have listened to, or one of the first ones, was actually an old, people don't even know this stuff. Like Kevin Cross, he had podcasts back, like, I mean, I'm talking about like 10 years ago or something crazy. Like he had like these um they were just really bad quality. I mean, it was back, I don't know, you probably remember, Peter, TalkShoe, that website
Yeah,
TalkShoe.
yeah.
So there was that TalkShoe thing, and it was almost like a Google Hangouts for podcasts. Like you just had like this really, like you could literally call people on the phone and interview them and stuff through TalkShoe. I
Yeah.
think that's basically how people were recording these podcasts, through the phone, but you could also do it through the internet, or you could record something and put it in there. Anyways, he had a bunch of little podcasts. This is even before Illustrator Party Time or whatever. And one of them was Mini Comics Dump Truck, actually, and I came in a little bit late on that. But he had a whole community he was building, doing like these mini comics things back then. And then, I think he did Illustration Party Time with Josh Kemble, and he then kind of, through that, became friends with the Art and Story guys, Jersey Droz and Mark Rudolph, and eventually he was a guest on there, and eventually he became part of that show too. And then it just kind of, went on from there. The 100 Days of Making Comics obviously became something. And so, but the art and story was a big part of me. I was listening to that and I'm like, why? Like, there was a lot of people listening to that, but I was like, why does not every person I know who's into making comics know about this? This is like, back then there wasn't much there teaching you how to do comics or talking about the topic of creating comics. So I was like, why is everybody not on this? So anyways, like, we were part of, both you and me were part of that community, and that was a huge part of me finally being like, okay, I want to focus back on comics a little bit. And then probably about through 3 or 4 years ago, I finally got the bug in me so much that I finally was like, I think this is going to be my focus, because I could never focus, up until then. And I decided I wanted to make it a goal to get published at Image Comics, because that's a huge part of what inspired me to create comics, was all those Image creators, and I love the legacy of Image Comics. But more recently, that turned into, I want to get published by Alterna, because I think Alterna is basically the Image Comics of now. When it comes to what they were initially doing, there's an excitement there, and it's actually a better deal for comic creators. And I love that they're printing on newsprint. So yeah, all that stuff, like, I'm totally interested. I still want to do Image Comics too, but I'm not even at the point maybe necessarily where I can do that yet, but we'll get there.
Yeah, there's something a lot more intimate about the idea of being published through Alterna, because Peter Simeti is like constantly making videos and having guests himself. And just yesterday, I only watched the very beginning, but I'll check out the rest later. But Peter Simeti had Scott Serklin on. I don't know if you caught that, and he's one of our friends. And yeah, it's like I catch a lot of his live episodes. I watch more of that, past episodes. But I love what he's doing, and he's always talking about crowdfunding, and he's always promoting his own books, but he also promotes other people's books, and yeah, he's building an incredible audience. Sort of like Image, Image has grown and evolved since the very beginning. It's not just the seven that artists that originally formed it, and it's almost like, well, who runs this thing? It's like, yeah, I don't know who's in charge. But yeah, it's like I've been published by Image. I had a couple of books come out through them. They came and went, but but I would love as well to be published by Alterna. And we're going to see if our project together will be picked up by them. Everything's almost, sometimes it's completely random if companies are ready to take on a certain book. But we'll see. We'll give it a shot.
Yeah, they actually, I did watch that one with Scott Serklin. It was really cool, and actually got a cool, like, little shout out in there. But one thing that they were talking about on that show was, people keep asking, where's the superhero comics at Alterna? How come there's no superhero comics? Which there kind of is a little bit, but I was thinking about that, and I'm like, well, I have two kind of superhero comic ideas going on right now, so maybe I'll work on those specifically. And Big Wrath is kind of one of them. It's not technically a superhero, but it kind of is. I think it fits within that realm. To me, Big Wrath, I was thinking about this the other day. I haven't actually said this to you, but I was thinking, like, Big Wrath is kind of like, you started off telling me it's like A-Team or something like that, which I think it still very much is. But I also was thinking, like, I'm thinking back to the old, like, and I never read these comics, but I'm familiar with the cartoon, but the old G.I. Joe comics, like that stuff, like, that was a different take on, like, a war comic. They were fighting terrorists, and it was really almost more like it was almost not really war. It was weird, but it was cool. Everybody loved it and stuff. And to me, I feel like it's like G.I. Joe, but with superpowers. And not everybody has superpowers, but some people have superpowers in the comic. And So it's kind of like that. And there's also, I was thinking it's like GI Joe with superpowers and the Brady Bunch or something like that, because it's like there's like a family dynamic kind of thing going. Not that people are actually family, but it's like a group of misfits who come together and they're like a family type of thing. So
Yeah. So it's like Toy Story. No.
there you go.
Yeah, I mean, you could pretty much say a lot of things, but yeah, we can definitely lean towards it being more superhero. It's like um, we haven't really designed the characters yet, but I'm always thinking in the back of my head it's a superhero book, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah. To go back a little bit, like you talk about Art and Story and Illustration Party Time and Kevin Cross. That's where I got to know you and so many others.
Mm.
Um, and definitely when Kevin created the D100s, that changed the ball game for a lot of us across the board. Um, and I'm so happy to be a part of the group and still active to this day. I mean, what's it been now? Like maybe 5 years? I forget now.
I
Um,
know it's been a while. People keep saying like they're not sure how long, but I think somewhere around 5 years. It's got to be at least 5 years, I think.
yeah, well, pretty much you go back to the first video Kevin made, and that,
Yeah,
whatever date that is.
true.
um, but it, to me, it's a little sad that he's not active with it per se, but it's really he started the ball rolling, and the community is pretty large, and we just keep spreading out in different ways. We got a Discord now that's truly amazing. Because Mike Emmerich was just saying the other day, it's like how to he's been trying to look for a way that would be one place where you could see where everybody's new videos would pop up. And in Discord, he set it up, and it's truly amazing. A lot of the things you can do there, it's
Mm.
like I got a page for Has, but it's kind of lame. Um, but yeah, with the whole podcast back. With Art and Story specifically, they created sort of a behind the scenes forum for listeners, and I guess they had some projects going on that I was a part of, and I remember seeing you there specifically and a bunch of other people. Um, and I don't currently I don't follow Jersey Joe's as much at the moment, but every once in a while I look in on what he's doing, and he's just like he was a pretty great artist and writer back then, but he's just grown and grown and grown. Um, and yeah, just all the people connected with that have grown. And like you said, like podcast hasn't died. There's still amazing podcasts out there. I have a Kindle and I listen to podcasts on that. Um, I'm only listening to two right now, and they're sort of business specific. Um, but it's like I on my computer while I'm working, I watch a lot of videos, and pretty much I'm listening to most of them while I work. Um, but to me that's the same difference. It's like it's blog. Like you said, podcasts aren't dead, blogs aren't dead. YouTube is definitely a lot of the focus currently. I see a lot more people, new people, industry people joining YouTube and making art videos and interacting with their fan base and community. It's just so many options out there for everyone. It's yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just I just pulled up Kevin Cross's first 100 days of making comics video, and
Yep.
it was May 5th, 2014, 5 years ago. So
Wow. There you go. 5-year
pretty
anniversary.
crazy.
Woo!
It's pretty crazy. Also, you were mentioning Jersey Drozd, and I mean that guy to me is a huge inspiration. It's weird to me that he like isn't as much involved, and like I kind of wish he was involved with our part of the community a little sometimes. And but it's not, I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about him. He's got his Lean Into Art podcast, which I check in on from time to time. And he was on my podcast, I feel like it was maybe about a year ago or a couple years, maybe a year and a half or something like that, which to me
Yeah,
was an honor because to me, like, a lot of what I do with my videos, with anything that I'm putting out there, a lot of it is really heavily influenced by what he did and what he does. It's just he had a way about like I ended up becoming almost a different person, you know, not like like I'm still just as much me as I was like back, you know, in the high school days or whatever, but in some ways I feel like I've learned how to be like kind of approach other creators and just to talk about this kind of stuff a lot from just the way he approached it. He's always been like really inclusive towards the audience and always wanted
yes,
to, you know, just make sure that everybody knew that you it doesn't matter how good you are at art. It doesn't matter how good you are at anything, what your idea is. It doesn't have to be a superhero story. It doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters. You can make a comic right now. Like that I got from Jersey Droz. I say that kind of stuff all the time. I got that from Jersey Droz. Like I it's really, I don't know, something, there's something special to what he did that really has affected me and I'll never forget it. Like
yeah.
I don't know. He's a cool dude.
Yeah, definitely, definitely, and so talented. Well, it's just a matter of like you see a blueprint of what you love, and you want to follow it. It's
Yeah.
like I want to do comics because I grew up reading comics. I love from artists I love and from writers I love, and I want to, in a sense, mimic that and do that myself.
Mhm.
And do it with my own, panache or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. Like, Jersey um, did things a certain way, and we're all following that. But we also follow, like, I'm inspired by everybody,
Yeah.
and it's a little bit him, and it's a little bit her, and it's a little bit them, and it's like little bits of everything become me and what I do, and hopefully it's for the better for future
Yeah.
fans.
I think it is. I mean, it just always reminds me of the idea of like how do you create your style, you know? You know, it's by looking at tons of different things and just getting little pieces from all of it. And, you know, you don't necessarily even do it intentionally, but, you know, that's how it kind of happens. And then eventually you also have kind of your own way of doing things, and all that mixed together becomes your unique style, you know?
Yeah, it's almost like that argument with art or painting or whatever. Like, oh, don't copy other people, don't copy other artists. Well, everybody copies. It's like whether you're copying other artists or you're copying real life. It's like everything starts from something.
Yep, absolutely.
So, let's see. Roughly about an hour. Let me check in on the chat. We just got a couple of. Well, we got Mike Emmertz.
That's another big name, in my opinion, a big influence. The way Mike, and shout out to Mike, by the way, who was in the chat at one point at least. You know,
Yep.
obviously, I've done a lot of work in collaborating with him and stuff. And I talked about Peter being the first person who's actually paid me some money to do comics. And Mike is the first person I plan on paying to do comics. So it's like it kind of we're sharing the love as we go, you know. But he's going to help me out doing some penciling for the Calamity Jane project. But you know, Mike, the way he presents himself is a huge influence on me for sure. Like I love how he does that. I mean, the way he makes comics too. Like if you want to check out a really cool, like kind of get this kind of understanding of how to do a lot of things with this art, go check out his Instagram. And he's got all these like little videos, and they show all these like little tips and stuff, and they're really cool. Like I've learned a lot just from him showing his own process. He's not even like trying to make a tutorial or anything. He's just like, oh, look, this, I came across this and blah blah blah. And he's just got a great way of putting it, and I love how clearly he speaks. I love how enthusiastically he speaks, and he's really great at organizing a project too. He's organized the both 100 days of making comics anthologies. I mean, the first one was me, him, and Chris. But you know, he definitely kind of put all the finishing touches on it. Um, and it was a lot of his work that really made the thing come out so great. So you know, again, really, to me, the community, it's like I derive my power from the community, you know. There's just so many great people, you know. I mean, I could sit here and shout people out for days, you know, and I kind of don't want to, just because I'm going to miss people.
Yeah.
But like all my friends, you know, I'm literally, just as much as I was inspired by, you know, the Image guys back in the 90s, and Jack Kirby and like all these other great amazing artists and stuff, and creators, I'm just as inspired by watching all my like peers around me do their thing. And it's really awesome. That's if you want to know, you know, some people are afraid to kind of step in the waters and become part of a community. It's only going to make you better, you know. That's what it's all about, you know.
Yeah. We talked just before the show. Like it's San Diego Comic Con. That's where everybody is. Like a lot of people, not everybody. It's impossible for that to happen.
Yeah.
Our friend Gaz Gretzky is there, and he's part of the community. He's part of D100s, and that's his first show tabling there, and he's got his book, The Horror A1, and his prints. He does a lot of Power Rangers and Godzilla. So if you're watching this from San Diego, go check him out. But yeah, I get so much from not only the community, but yeah, our close friends within the group. Um, and like wanted to mention about Mike. Mike is like I don't know if you know Casey Neistat is
Yep.
a YouTuber, like really big YouTuber. Mike Emirates reminds me of Casey, but in the comics world. His
Okay.
attention to detail and his insane, like he just has books and charts. Like this is what he's going to do. This is what he's working on. And like I am not that detail oriented, but I'm moving towards that. And like
Yeah.
he's definitely like an inspiration in that sense. Like, you know, I need to get my stuff together. It's like I'm always scratching the surface, and they're really showing me how it's done.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of a big um kind of inspiration for me to, you know, want to kind of hire him. And it's weird to say hire him, because to me it's just a collaboration. But you know, a big inspiration though for that, and it's kind of the same thing with you and me, because like I know that was part of your desire too, because you actually approached me after I was saying like I need money because my car, I forget what it was, my cats or my car or something. And you know, people were helping me out, which is really awesome. Another great thing about the community. But so, you know, that's the same thing with Mike. I know he's embarking on a career, and he's really, I mean, he's kind of at that point where he's really going at it. It's time to, you know, actually make something out of this comics business, you know. And so I was like, well, I want him to work on a project. Maybe I can drum up some money through Kickstarter or something like that to pay him to work on a project. So that way I can be part of helping him get to where he wants to go, you know? So, you know, it's a lot of cool stuff like that going on.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you know, I've been doing this 27 years, almost 28 in September. Um, and it's pretty much as soon as started making friends in the industry, which is first couple of years, it's like I always want to work with all my friends, and you know, it's like, oh, this one's looking for a job, oh, this one's, you know, needs to make some money, or you know, it's like it's a tough industry. And I just want to see everybody succeed because I want to see their best work. I want to see their Dark Phoenix saga. I want to see their Teen Titans saga. You
Yeah.
know, like their key, you know, thing they'll remember forever, for all time. Um, and you know, yeah, it's just, and their best work. You know, I want to see people's best work. You know, it's great to see them produce anything, but to see their best work, it's like, you know, it really takes a chunk of time where you're just pumping out work, and it just happens. It just, you get in that groove and that flow, and you know, it's like, I know you're like so in the middle of things now. You got your hands in many pies, but the quality of your work is just going up daily. So
Yeah, I mean that's totally true. Like I think that it's like it's easy to look at somebody who's just starting and like see their first Kickstarter or whatever it is and look at their art or their project, their writing, whatever, and you know, maybe be critical, you know, and or to just see it and be like, ah, you know, I don't know if I'm into this person's thing. But you have to realize like we're all in development, and it's just like all these people who are involved with all this stuff. So we're all at different levels of ability and stuff. But I think none of us have quite gotten. I think we still are all, you know, not reaching our potential yet. And like you said, I like how you said it. Like I want to see their Dark Phoenix saga. You know, I want to see, you know, their, Dark Knight Returns. You know, or whatever it is. You know that we all have those ideas in us. It just takes a while to get there, and we're all kind of finding our way.
yeah, you know, it's like, I remember a lot of the classics when they came out, and it's like I remember reading them as they came out, and it's like, okay, this is a great book, this is an amazing book, but I didn't think, you know, 10, 20 years, 30 years down the line that this, you know, what I was reading would be marked classic, you know, like, but yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of the creator being in sync with the writer or whoever's on the project, um, and just putting out their best works. And yeah, it's like that. That's more than anything. I don't think everything I do will be in that sort of arena, but it's definitely what I strive to do with everything I'm working on currently and forevermore. Um, so I'll ask you this at this point: is there anything? I know we talked a lot, and we didn't really specifically like dive into like the history of Marshall Lee. Um, yeah,
Well, I gave you a pretty good overview of it, I think.
yeah. But is there anything you think that we missed, or any thing you want to specifically promote?
No, I mean, I think we really touched on a lot of it. I mean, the only thing that there would be more would be to like really get into depth of the different stories I've made or am making. But you know, I mean, really, the thing is I guess the one thing I didn't mention that is probably a great way to kind of connect with me and keep up to date is to go to my website, donkeyjawprojects.com, and you can read some free comics by signing up with my newsletter. There's also free comics that you don't even have to do that for. Go just to the comic section. And some of these free comics will be actually part of the Retro Fresh Comic Explosion. I'm going to kind of re-letter them and probably color some of them, and just I'm going to clean them all up and kind of remaster them. And I'm also going to have some new material in there as well. So you're going to be able to get a good idea of like the kind of thing you'll see in the Retro Fresh Comic Explosion. So, and by signing up from the newsletter, obviously you'll be able to find out when it launches and other things about the project as it progresses and stuff. So that's pretty much
Right.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to mention the newsletter if you didn't bring it up. And also, you're on Patreon. So if people want to
Yeah,
support you today, right now, they can
that's
go to
true.
Patreon and give you $1 or 1,000 or whatever, whatever is in
Yeah,
their pocket.
yeah, yeah, that's and I only have one level, $1, but you can put in as much as you want, and a lot of people do put in more than just $1 a month. That's growing, slowly but surely, and it does help. It really does help. There's been little things where it's like, oh wow, I actually have some money in my PayPal. Cool, I can pay rent this month. So it's helpful.
Yeah. Oh, there is one thing I wanted to get into, and then it's open to you how far you want to discuss it. But your day job currently is your side hustle, as you put it, because you got a goal in mind. You got a goal where you'd be working on comics full time. So discuss.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the working artist vlog is all about. That I kind of created that because, you know, there's a lot of people in this community. Some of us have day jobs, some of us have different situations. And to me, that's a big part of how the heck do I make this thing happen when I have a day job, I have a lot of responsibilities at home, I have all kinds of things. And and so I sorry, I was a little distracted for a sec. How do you make comics, within that kind of situation? I mean, that's one thing that I think is really inspirational by the 100 days of making comics. It causes you to work on your comic for a half an hour a day every day. And because of that, I've done that like 2 or 3 times now, or 3 times I think now. I think it's 3.5 actually. But and then it got to a point where it's like, well, where do I go from here? Am I going to just keep doing 100 days of making comics? Like, and then I was like, well, let me just do 365 days of making comics. So I did that last year, and I'm doing it again this year. So I work on my comic for at least a half an hour every day, and I think this is going to go on till freaking ever, because I love making comics. The fact that I've touched on my projects a little bit every day is really encouraging. And, some days I work on it a lot more than a half an hour. Some days it's just I can only squeeze in that half an hour. But you can see that whole process in the working artist vlog, and you can see, how somebody can make all of this kind of stuff happen, even though they have a lot of things that take their time. And I try as much as I can to show that. I'm trying to get better at that as well. But like I said, I've seen so many people do the 100 Days of Making Comics challenge, and they've had baby, like I don't even have kids. That's one thing I know would be really hard if I had kids to do it. But I've seen people who have kids, they do it. They have kids and a day job in, like, they can do it. If they can do it, anybody can do it. Like, so there's really, that challenge has proven that there's really no excuse. There really, I mean, there are the very, very rare situations where you literally can't. You just don't have that time in the day. I get it. Sometimes, a lot of times when you've just had a baby or something and it's your first baby, I get it. But or like some kind of tragedy has happened or something, you know, there's definitely times where okay, you got to put comics aside. Okay, fine. But for the most part, there's really no excuses. You can make it happen for at least a half an hour every day. And so, yeah, I don't know that to me, my work is my side hustle, my regular day job. You know, I got that from Scott O'Green from I'd rather be drawing.com. Um, and it's so true. And I mean, I go to work, I do what I need to do. I'm happy to get the paycheck. I'm happy to do the best job I can, you know, and work there and stuff. But when it all comes down to it, like I leave that job, I'm not thinking about it until I have to go in the next morning. You know, my real work to me is what I'm doing right here and what I'm doing when I'm making my comics, you know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, man. And I'm so excited for everything you got going on now, and so excited for like even a year or two down the line, what you'll have, the body of work you'll have.
Yeah, I
Um,
think about that with everybody. Like we got this awesome community and it's like I can't wait to see like 10 years from now, where's everybody going to be at? There's going to be some of us who have done something that's really cool and some of us will keep it as a hobby, which is also totally cool. The fact that you actually created something and put it out into the world is pretty darn awesome in my opinion. Like to me, and this is another thing I got from Jersey Joe's, like comic people are like my favorite people, you know, as you know, in some ways. Like it's like to me, if you've made a comic, I don't care if you made a stick figure 1 hour comic, 1 hour comic challenge. I don't care if you've made a stick figure small little mini comic, like you it takes a lot of work even to do something like that, you know. Comics are a lot of work, there's a lot to think about when you're doing it, and my hats are is always off to anybody who's tried it, you know.
yeah, yeah. Uh, I forget the artist's name. He's gonna kill me, but there's that comic Mary Boys. He's part of the Johannes group, um, and it's pretty amazing. It's so gorgeous looking, and he approaches it as that, you know, that's something he wants to do, but for him it's a hobby. He has a day job, he has a life, and it's not revolving around comics per se. But he puts everything into his comic. He doesn't slack on that, and it's gorgeous. It reminds me of like Will Eisner and a lot of old influence comics. But yeah, it's like you could do this part time, full time, whatever. You know, it's like it's just a matter of committing to what you commit to. You know, follow through, finish the thing. You know, put it out there, find your audience, and you know, back in the day, you know, it's like if an independent comic, um, you know, sold like 2,000 copies, it was a great thing. You know, I don't even know numbers nowadays or whatever, but it's like the potential of sales is huge, and you know, it's like I'm just, you know, getting into this part of the industry. Um, you know, back in the day, I was committed to being an anchor for my life, but everything evolves, everything changes, things drop out. But you know, it's like now I've committed to this. So I'm going to publish my own books. I'll also down the line be publishing other people's books. Um, and I know, like, you know, we really put in the time and get the word out there. Like, you know, right now YouTube is really big for us. Um, that we can promote it above and beyond, you know, whatever our circle of influence is at the moment. So it's just a matter of hard work.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. The work is the thing, you know. That's the that's like the you want to know what the key is to make a successful comic or to do anything in life. The key is work hard at it. anything that they, it's said so many times by so many people, but anything that's worth doing is worth working hard at, and it's just that's just the difference between the people who are able to make it happen and the people who aren't, just is.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you're born with family. You make your friends, but like you commit yourself eventually to a partner for life. Um, and I tend to think of it like, okay, if my commitment to this comic, to this product, whatever, is almost like committing to having a girlfriend. It's like you gotta put in the time. you know, it's not going to be something good um, if you don't. And there's always give as well as take and receive and yada yada. I don't know where I'm going with that, but
No, it's true. I mean, relationships are definitely, you know, they make sense with. I mean, it's all about relationships, anyways, even in comics and stuff. So,
yeah.
it totally makes sense.
All right, man. Well, I think we've gone long enough. I didn't see any comments. I'll check again. Um,
Other
just
than Mike
seems
Emmerich blushing.
like he says, I'm on a 5-minute delay catching up. I wonder why.
Yeah.
And how would you know? Mike says, "Good show." Thanks, Mike. Thanks for being our only fan because of San Diego. Um,
I'm sure people will watch it after the fact.
yeah, yeah. I expect it will get lots of views because everybody wants to know about Marshall Lee. Marsh Makes Comics on YouTube, Donkey Joe Projects on Facebook, Marshall Lee on Twitter and Instagram. Um, where else you at online that you want to tell people about?
I mean, that's pretty much it. I'll just clarify on Instagram and Twitter, it's Marshall Lee _ DJP because it's a
That's right.
weird one, but so
Yeah.
but yeah, you said it, man. That's all the things.
And yeah, you got your website, you got your mailing list, you got your Patreon. Um, yeah, so follow along on Monster's journey to making comics and getting them out there. And I really, truly, personally hope your Kickstarter blows up. Um, and
Thank you.
hope,
It's
yeah,
funny,
I
like,
hope. Go ahead.
sorry, it's funny. We just said like nobody's watching, and all these people popped up. I've been watching. I've been watching. So shout out to Clay and Frank Makes Movies. You guys are awesome. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Coco, Dylan Wolf. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I hope people are really into our project, Big Wrath. Super excited about that. And yeah, well, it's moving forward and we're making progress. And, perhaps at one point we should uh, do whatever the future Hangout capability is and talk a little bit
Oh
about
yeah,
the project.
yeah. You
Yeah.
guys will be hearing about it for sure. That's gonna be a cool comic. Like if we can like pull it off right, like it's gonna have a really cool impact. The first issue, so I can't wait.
Cool, man. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. This has been a Creator Spotlight brought to you by Creator Own Comics Group on Facebook and also on YouTube. And we're doing our best. It's like everybody's side gig to work on this group. You got me, Chuck, Karen, and Jason currently. If somebody's interested in becoming an administrator, please drop me a line. Messenger is the best on Facebook. We're just trying different things and trying to make it something better and different than other groups. But definitely, thus far on the YouTube, the Creative Spotlight is my favorite thing. We haven't had much of anything else at the moment, but we'll get there. Thank you for watching. Please give the video a like. Leave a comment if you're watching this later. And of course, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. We love to grow bigger so we can do more with our channel. Thank you, everybody. Have a great one.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Marshall. This has been fun. Take care, everyone.